Hey YouTube, it's Justin, aka Demonic Sweaters, and today I have a little project that I've been wanting to work on. I figured I would just make a video about it. And first off though, what I wanted to do is actually give you guys an overview of my custom-made electronic drum set that if you followed my channel for a while, you've probably seen some videos on this already, but I've since made some upgrades and things where I haven't really talked about in the videos. So I wanted to show you guys all of that first. And then what I'm gonna do is actually do a little bit of recording with this drum set using a technique that I haven't even tried yet, which is basically on the TD-8 module, which is the drum module that I'm using on this kit. It has a way where you can basically assign different drums to different outputs, giving you 4 total outputs. So what I'm gonna do is actually try isolating some of the drums, and then I'm gonna put the whole thing together in Reaper and kind of do some mixing, and we'll see how it sounds. Recording the drums like this is something that I wanted to try already, so I figured making a video about it might be helpful to you guys out there, and you might enjoy watching it. So first though, let me just show off this kit that I put together over the past few months and show you guys everything that I have, how I have it hooked up now, and basically the whole setup. And then we'll go over how to configure it for multi-output recording, as well as how I have it hooked into Reaper, and basically everything that I'm doing. I'm just gonna show you guys how I'm doing it. So here we go. Let's check out the drums first. All right, first things first, let's talk about the drums themselves and show you guys what I have going on here. Now, as I stated before, this is a Tama Club Jam Flyer drum set, acoustic drum set that I converted to electric using various things. The whole history of this drum set really is on my channel. If you want to go back, maybe I should make a playlist about it, or I think I already did. I can just post a link down below. But if you're not familiar, the bass drum is a 14-inch bass drum. It's a 10-inch snare drum, an 8-inch rack tom, and a 10-inch floor tom, and which makes them a very great size for this kind of project if you want a small set to have at home. On the kick drum, I have a red shot, D-drum red shot trigger rather, and on the toms as well, I have red shots, and those work really, really well. Very inexpensive. You can get 5 for $100, and they work on all drums, but they're single zone. And on the snare, I have a Pintech dual zone internally mounted trigger that I modified slightly. I don't think you can see it, but basically all I changed was the way that the second piezo attaches to the shell of the drum. Instead of using the dual-sided tape, I used some gaffer's tape. It made it a little bit more sensitive. And on my hi-hats, now this is something that I never showed you guys if you've been following the channel, a new acquisition, or fairly new. I got a pair of Roland, well not pair, but a Roland VH11 hi-hat that has the Roland hi-hat controller. I found this on Craigslist. Got a really good deal on this. Somebody locally was selling it. He had a newer VH12 and was getting rid of the VH11, but the VH11 is a little bit newer than the module I have, but it still works just fine. It doesn't really use it to its fullest potential, but that's okay. If I ever upgrade my module, then I'll already have this really nice VH11 hi-hat here. Here on my left, I have a Pintech TC series 10-inch that I use as like a splash or a China sound, or whatever I want, usually like a China splash type thing or a bell. Over here I have a 14-inch PC series Pintech crash, single zone crash. Over here my ride is a very old Visualite ride, dual zone ride cymbal. These are made by Pintech as well, and this one's a older model, but the newer models are sort of similar. They just look a little bit different, but they pretty much function the same way. And then over here to my right, I have a 16-inch Pintech PC series. And this one is a newer addition to the ones that I've shown you guys already. Now, the PC series all come with these spring mounts, which is very useful. It keeps them from spinning, and it also keeps them, when you hit them, they give like a real cymbal, which is nice. And I just used another spring mount on the TC series. This one didn't have one, though I don't have one on my ride. Now for the module, I have a Roland TD-8, which is a very old Roland module. 1999 is when this thing came out, and I made a video about it as well. But it's a great sounding module, and it has a lot of programmability, very much like the newer ones. Samples aren't quite as good or as realistic, but I like them. They sound really nice. Now right over here to the left, I actually have an audio interface that I basically just built this little platform to put it on, to where I can actually just plug directly from here into my audio interface, so I don't have to run a bunch of cables over to my computer, which is all the way over there. Now, in order for this to hook up to my computer, I just have a very long USB cable right here that I just, basically when I want to plug into my computer, I just plug that in, switch devices within Reaper, and then I have an audio interface right here that I can record my drums with. So that is very useful. And now let's go over some of the hardware on the drums. Now, the Tama Club Jam doesn't come with a snare stand or basically anything else. It comes with the tom mount, but the ride stand, I actually purchased this separately. This is a Gibraltar boom arm, but it does have this clamp here already, so it's very easy to clamp a boom arm on there. And then Tama also makes a little cymbal arm that you could buy that can clamp on right there, but they're actually kind of expensive, and I have one already on my other Club Jam set, but I kind of just wanted to go with the regular old Gibraltar boom arm here because one, it was cheaper, and two, it actually gives you much more options as far as how high you can mount the cymbal and where you can put it. So I thought that was a better idea for that. My hi-hat stand is a Tama, basically the cheapest Stagemaster Tama hi-hat stand they make, but anything by Tama is good. Basically, you can't buy anything bad by Tama. And on the hi-hat stand, I have another little clamp here, which is also by Gibraltar, and this boom arm, and that's actually where my splash is mounted, just directly to my hi-hat stand right here. And then you'll notice also, new addition, well, at least to this drum set, is this PDP double bass drum pedal, and I have 2 Silent Strike beaters on there, so when I hit my bass drum, it's not super loud. Now you might notice something a little bit different is I have my second bass drum pedal to the left of my hi-hat pedal instead of to the right where most people put it. And the reason for that is I like to keep my hi-hat very close to my snare drum and almost to this side a little bit of my snare, so it's almost like in between the rack tom and the snare drum. That's because I don't like to cross my arms a whole lot when I'm playing, and I'm right-handed, so that's just kind of how I developed my style over the years. And the bass drum pedal is just long enough to reach on that side. Now this won't always work on every single hi-hat stand. You have to have the right kind of hi-hat stand that will give enough space basically to run this between those posts there, but on mine it works. So now as far as the other cymbal stands, these are they're kind of older Ludwig flat bass cymbal stands, and I've had these for a lot of years actually. I bought those probably back in I want to say 2002, somewhere around there, and I have my module mounted to this one on a clamp right here. And these cymbal stands are very lightweight. They're not the most heavy-duty, stable stands in the world, but I like them because they're lightweight, they're easy to deal with, and they don't take up a lot of space. So I think that's pretty much it. Did I show you guys everything? Oh, one thing I didn't mention is the cable snake that I have connected to my module. This is a monoprice cable snake. You can get these on Amazon for like 24 bucks or something, really cheap. So that's just running, out of the module, and then they're all colored, so it's very easy to remember which one is going to which, and then you can just run that to your drums. One thing I should mention on these older Roland modules, I mean, it might even be on the newer Roland modules, is the ride input is expecting I don't know if you can see that, but ride input, this expects a piezo switch type of trigger. Which my ride is not. It's 2 piezo. So if you have a regular ride that's not a Roland ride, what you can do is actually plug it into the aux input right here, the aux trigger input, and that is a standard dual zone trigger. And so you can see how it has 11 and 12. You can basically just assign your bow and your bell to whichever samples you want within the module if you use the aux input. If you use the ride input, it'll work, but you have to hit the bell like insanely hard for it to trigger. So if you don't have a Roland trigger or Roland cymbal, then use the aux input. That's my advice on that. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the heads. These are all Prism ebony heads that I ordered from Prism's website. They're really, really great mesh head, drum head maker, and my snare drum is a triple ply, and my bass drum is a triple ply, and then the toms are both dual ply. On the bottoms, I have dual ply prism whites on the bottoms of all the drums, and those are also mesh. And then on the front of the bass drum, I have the standard Tama logo head. And I think that is everything. Feel free to let me know if I forgot to mention anything in the comments down below. But that's, oh, and the snare stand, that's one thing I didn't mention, is also a Tama. I've had this snare stand for a really long time, probably 15 years or so, or maybe longer. That might be the oldest piece of gear that I have, actually. But you might notice that I don't spread the legs on my snare stand very much. That is another reason why I do that, is again because of space. If you spread your legs out on your snare drum really, really wide, it kind of eats up real estate down there. So I don't like to do that. I don't have any problems with it tipping over or anything like that. If you're using a cheap snare stand that's not very good, that may happen, but Tama stuff, once again, Tama is like, they're the best in my opinion. They just make really, really great stuff, and like I said, I've had this for probably 15 or 20 years, and it shows no signs of ever breaking, ever. So, Tama, they're the winners. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about how I'm gonna hook all this stuff up into Reaper, and the way that I'm gonna assign the different drums to the different outputs. Okay, let's take a look at the outputs on the actual module itself. Now let me just unplug these here so you guys can see all of this. On the back of the TD-8 module, you'll notice you have master output and then direct output. These outputs are all assignable to the drums. So basically what you can do is you could assign your kick drum and your snare drum to the master output if you wanted, and then toms and cymbals to the direct outputs, each one. Now the way I'm gonna do it, I don't like to have my toms or my cymbals in mono. So I'm gonna do kick, snare, and then basically my toms and cymbals on both of these outputs. So my stereo imaging remains the same, but basically the toms and cymbals will be on sharing tracks with each other, if that makes any kind of sense. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'll get more into details of how you do that in the module here in a second. So first let me plug these back in. And then here on my audio interface, I just have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll be kick, snare, and then left, right of toms and cymbals on these two. So I'll have 4 channels recording at the same time. All right, now let's make the changes to the module that I need to do in order to record the individual channels. Now to do that, I'm just gonna go here to Mixer, and then if I press Menu, I can go to Output. So just arrow down, go to Output. And now here you can see all the different assignments for all the different drums. So if I just hit the bass drum, it'll go to the correct trigger right there. And I don't know if you can see that screen or not, but now I just need to change this to mastered left, and then I'm going to hit my snare. I'm going to change this to master right, and then toms. I'm going to change this to direct. Same with my floor tom. Change that to direct. Same with all my cymbals. Make sure I get both of my cymbals over here. Okay, let me just go through them all again, make sure I got everything. So bass drum, snare drum, rack tom, floor tom, ride bell. Okay, ride bell, right crash, left crash, splash, hi-hats. And we're good. So now everything, when I hit all the different drums, basically I'll be sending 4 different outputs that I can record into Reaper all at once. All right, so unfortunately in this next part where I do the Reaper tutorial section of this video, it didn't record the audio coming out of the computer. So all you hear during the mix is my voice and the audio from the computer basically picking up on the microphone from the speakers. I didn't redo it because I already got through with the entire mix, and I figured there was still some useful information in there for you guys, even without being able to hear it. You just did hear the final mix in what you just saw. So I think given that, it's still worth watching, just to show you how I was able to mix the different channels of drums and how I did what I did. So anyway, here we go. Okay, so we're in Reaper now, and let's go ahead and see what we recorded here. And here's our kick drum. So we got a solo kick there, snare drum, overhead left, overhead right. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is pan my left and right overheads. So let's do that. This song, I have to make sure not to get confused here because I have acoustic drums on here already. This is actually a pretty old song that I released on my album In the Park a couple years ago. So there's already an acoustic. Actually, this is a new file, so I can delete all of these. Let's go ahead and delete this so I don't get confused. Remove. There we go. Okay, so that makes it simpler. And save. Now, what I want to do is pan my left and right toms and cymbals, which are my overheads, kind of. Digital overheads. So let's pan those left and right. Now, one thing that I've noticed, too, is when you use the direct outputs, I don't know if this is the case on new modules, but on my module, basically it mutes all the effects. So none of the reverbs or any of that are on there. Though it doesn't sound that bad. Totally dry like that. But I'll probably add a little bit to it just to give it a little more liveliness. Sounds nice though, actually. Cuts through really well. Okay, so first thing I want to do, actually I already created the track, but nothing's there yet. You'll notice here this is E drum master. So what I'm going to do is take all of these tracks, I'm going to put them under that as a master, so that now I can basically mute and raise the level of all the drums at once, which is a really nice feature on Reaper that's really easy to do. Like I can go like this, solo all the drums, I can mute the drums, bring the level up and down, whatever I want to do. Now also what I'm going to do is go here and I'm going to insert a new track and put this with the other drums. So this is going to be drum bus. Now the difference between a drum bus and a drum master, well, you'll see here in a second. So for the drum bus, what I'm going to do is actually right click on the knob there, and then we're going to go to add new receive. I'm going to do from toms and cymbals left and then toms and cymbals right. So this way I can basically assign effects to just those two channels that are basically a bus. A bus is like kind of a mix with the original signal. So it's like the dry signal and the affected signal. So what I want to do, let me solo all the drums first. And I'm just going to kind of experiment here. I don't really know exactly what I want to do yet, so there's going to be a lot of me messing around. But that's okay. So here we go. I sound like Bob Ross. Okay, so drum bus. I want to get one of my SSL plugins. Give myself a little bit of compression on here. Let me get to a heavy tom part. That's pretty good. This is going to be really easy to get these to sound good. I can tell right now. I really like those tom sounds. Very nice. All right, let's go back to the beginning. And I want to mess with my snare a bit, so let's solo that up a bit. And what I want to do here is maybe put some kind of a room on there. Let's try the Abbey Road Chambers. Oops, misspelled Abbey. Chambers mono stereo. Way too much, but let's see. There's a lot of stuff in here I don't know what it sounds like. Like, there's all these people's names, so I have no idea who they are. I mean, most of them. I know some of them, but... Drum loop vibes. Electro drum snacks. Let's see what that sounds like. Too much. Though pretty cool for some other type of project that might be cool. That's kind of neat, but not for this. I haven't found myself using this plugin that much, just because there's a lot of stuff like that, like that's kind of cool, but just way too extreme. Oh, this one might work. Let's bring down that mix a little bit. That's too much. Too much slapback. How do I fix that? Tell you what, rather than me mess around with this forever, I'm going to just pick a different reverb altogether. Something more simple. This towel reverb sounds pretty good. Let's go to mid plate. Way too much, but... Oh, that sounds terrible, actually. Small drum plate. There we go. Let's bypass it. I just want a little bit on there, not a lot. Okay, let's hear how that sounds in with the mix. Not bad. Let's hear it with the music. Sounds pretty nice, actually. Snare might be a little bit too hot. Let's bring it down a little bit. Not too much. I want to give that snare a little bit of EQ, so let's go back to my SSL plugins. SSL EQ I really like, so let's use that. And I want to switch the order of these. A little more mid, a little less highs. One thing that's nice about this, opposed to acoustic drums, is there's absolutely no bleed whatsoever. It's just totally isolated, so it's really easy to dial in what you want. Not bad. I'm not sure if I want to do anything to the bass drum. I kind of like it dry like that. Cuts through really well. Sounds nice. Now, some of you may be wondering about the reds here. I know some people get super triggered on my videos when they see me going in the red. But if you're mixing in 24-bit, it doesn't matter that much. The reason is with 24-bit, you get a lot of headroom. So you can do that, and actually it won't hurt anything. And in fact, Reaper is a little bit conservative. Technically, it's not really in the red there because it can't be on the master because I'm using a limiter here, which actually is capping. It's a brick wall limiter, so it really can't go past 0. It really can't go past 0 right now because of the way that I have this set up. So don't worry about the red. It's not doing anything bad. So let's go ahead and listen a little bit more. Now I may want to put a room on just the drums overall. So to do that, I could just use this eDrums master here. And let's see what kind of reverbs I have. I know I have other ones than those. There's something in waves. Reverb, here we go. So let's try this one. I kind of don't really like all these artist things. Because, like I said, I have no idea who these people are. I'd rather them, you know, be by category than just these people's names. You know, I'm sure a lot of you probably know some of these people, but nobody knows all these people. You know, this is just a lot of different producers. The only ones I know are Tom Lord-Edge or Lord-Edge, however you say it, and Chris Lord-Edge. Is he on here? I usually like his presets. Anyway, let's look at the factory presets. Chambers, halls. I kind of just want a room. Let's do like bathroom and then bring down the mix some. And I might want to get rid of that one I have on the snare already because it's kind of overkill. Let's mute that. Still a bit much. Let's bring down the reverb. That sounded pretty good. Let me turn it off in here. I think it's still too much reverb. I just like a tiny little touch. That's dry. That's with the reverb. Barely any difference, but that's kind of what I want. Just to kind of make it sound like it's in a room a little bit. I don't put a lot of reverb on my drum mixes in general. Now, if you were curious about the rest of this song, believe it or not, these are all plugins. I didn't play any real guitar or any real bass or anything like that on here. I mean, I played these, but all on my MIDI controller. But this was quite a while ago when I recorded this, so I don't remember all the exact details. But I always liked the sounds that I got in this song. I'm digging it. Listening to this on recording, though, I may want to change my ride sound just a little bit within the module. the bell specifically. It's just a little bit too high pitched. I kind of did an extra, you know, I can cut that out. I accidentally hit the bass drum twice at the end there because I wasn't totally sure it was ending. But actually, I can get rid of that. So let's turn off snap. Go right here. And I'm going to go to item and then split items at cursor. And then just delete that. Now let's hear it. There, perfect. It's like I never messed up. This song, when I originally recorded it, and I did the acoustic drums, this was one that I did in a way that I normally don't work, whereas I recorded some acoustic drums without music. Basically, you know, just playing the drums to a click, and then I went and I edited what I had played into kind of a arrangement, and then I created the song over top of that arrangement. So the original drums, they were kind of pieced together. So when I recorded it today, I had to kind of learn what I did. It's not that difficult, but it's actually the difficult part about this song playing it is how reserved it actually is for the most part. And it's kind of like a groove, you know, like a slow rock groove, but I think it came out pretty good. Let's check it out one more time. I kind of want to make that snare a little bit meatier. Let's go back into this EQ. Turn down that high mid. Bring up the low mid just a hair. There we go. These SSL plugins from Waves are incredible. This EQ is like so powerful. I mean, it really can make a big difference in your sound. But I think this is how I'm going to record that module from now on. I wasn't sure like if I'd like it or not, like better than just recording the 2 channels at a time, but this definitely gives me way more flexibility and options in the mix. So this is the way to do it. Is that drum bass too loud? Maybe just a hair? Let's bring it down a little bit. That's the drum bus. I could probably put a little more compression on there since it's lower. So let's increase the threshold, or decrease the threshold rather. Just to make the cymbals kind of give them a little bit of that swell. All right, I'm actually pretty happy with that. So I think what I'll do now is bounce this down, render it, and then sync it to the video. And I'm not sure if you guys already saw that video yet or not. It may either be before or after this editing part. Probably before. So you already saw that. Sounds really nice to me. The TD-8, you know, like I said, it was made a long time ago, but that's still a great module. I mean, it just sounds really nice. I should have mentioned that I did make some EQ changes on the TD-8 itself. So, you know, it's not like just straight out of the box it sounds like this. I created this custom kit. I did the EQs. I tweaked it to my liking, selected all the cymbals, adjusted the pitches and the dynamics and thresholds and all that stuff. But if you have the patience and you tweak it, you can get some really nice sounds. And very dynamic. I mean, listen to that, the build, too. Very dynamic. I thought there was one fill I did that was kind of weird in here somewhere, but I haven't noticed it listening back. I'll probably notice it in the video. Like weird, not good. Something I did on one of the cymbals. But anyway, I think that's going to be all for this video, everybody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, click the thumbs up, bell icon so you get notified every time I upload new content. And also, follow me on Spotify and Apple Music. There's links down below. You can follow Demonic Sweaters, which is this stuff. There's also my project, which is called Manasota. That's kind of a more chill, kind of, I don't know, post-new age project or post-rock experimental. Follow that one too. You have to listen to it to really know what I'm talking about. As well as the final project that I'm working on right now is called Hums, which is with me and my friend Chiaki, and we're working on a new EP right now. So definitely follow all of those on Spotify and Apple Music. There's links down below. I also have a record label called anthillrecordings.bandcamp.com, and you can check that out and purchase merch and all that stuff there. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys really soon. Later.